Okay, so what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen are the pairs that we'll be analyzing today, but make sure you do stay to the end of the video because I do have a bonus pair in store. But yeah, guys, we'll go for my trade for the week first and of course progress to the analysis shortly after. If there is a specific pair you do want to see my analysis to, make sure you do skip ahead using the timestamps below. But as I said, I had a position this week. I'm still currently in that same position. I'm short on the Euro Aussie. I had an entry on the retest of this low here. Nice bearish engulfing on the 4H, stop loss. Just a few pips above the high. I'm looking for a move back down to this support level, this swing low on the daily chart. I am trading stops, so this is my target that I have in my head, but I'll be trading stops just to see how far price can go. We may bounce through this level, we may break through, could still reverse and hit my stop loss. I haven't taken any positions off, risk is still on the table, so we'll find out how that goes into next week. But essentially, we've had a lot of rejection up at the highs here. I'm looking at this being the third lower high, 1, 2, 3, and if that is going to be the third lower high, there's a very good chance we'll get back to that low. So drop into the 4H, nice healthy market structure, nice pullback, retesting some prior support term resistance, gave me my entry signal. Now looking for the continuation. So we'll see how that progresses, but first things first, we'll go to the DXY and then we'll jump over to Euro USD. So yeah, as for the DXY, as for dollar, still bullish. That has been my bias for the past 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks now. Still looking at more upside back to 106, 500, and then ultimately 107, which is the high up here. I have pointed out a couple areas where we could come back to retest, which is kind of where we did last week. Big move to the downside after NFP. All we did was just leave behind a big wick and a big rejection here. So I'm expecting, as long as we can hold this level, more upside. I do have a level down here as well, around 104, 200, which we could come back and retest as well. But ultimately, I'm looking for an impulse correction, impulse pattern, back to the high, of course, and then back to 107 eventually as well. So we are reacting with some areas here on the lower time frames, which has given us a pretty strong move, but I do think this is just for price to correct itself, find support, and continue. So I'm still looking at more upside for dollar next week. So taking that information, that bias into corresponding dollar crosses, Euro USD, I'll be expecting the inverse of that, which is a move down. Last week I was talking about price coming back to retest this area for some sell opportunities. We did that early into the week, but then it didn't really give me an entry signal that I was looking for. We had a bit of a slow move down, but now we push back up again. So I'm hoping we can come a little bit higher, test that level, looking for ultimately a double top at this region, and then looking for my entries there to take short, stop loss above the area, and targets back down to the swing low. And again, I do have some longer term targets similar to the DXY, looking for a big push back to the low there as well. All I'm looking for is the continuation of this bearish structure for another lower high and another move back down. So just looking to flow with the market. We're seeing consecutive lower lows, lower highs. As long as you maintain that structure, I will be bearish on Euro USD. So keeping a close eye on price in this 1.07 or 1.08 region, we'll call it. Looking for shorting opportunities, entry signals there, and a target back down at that low for the week makes a lot of sense as well. If you do go and break through this, that's when I'll probably start pausing on that bias. Not necessarily looking for longs, but I probably won't be looking for shorts anymore for Euro. So I'm looking for us to hold this area and then shorts back into the low at 1.06 next week. Okay, so over to dollar yen. So dollar yen still bullish bias on this one. We're still seeing confident uptrends and all the major time frames, daily, weekly, monthly, all still pointing up. So when we do have conditions like that, I'm always looking for that trend to continue. Last week I was talking about a retest of 152. We did see a nice bounce there. I think we were already testing that area on Friday. Yeah, Friday we wicked into that level. Then Monday we saw momentum to the upside, or started to see momentum to the upside. So for dollar yen, we're kind of in a bit of no man's land. If you look at the sell, it's not in a bad area. Coming to some areas here where we could be finding some resistance, maybe looking at another lower high. We've got one over here, second there, third one there potentially. And of course, I'm looking in the way price is moving, very kind of a slow, sluggish uptrend before we had this big drop. You know, I think there's a good chance we could actually see that kind of happen again. Sluggish up move, big drop, sluggish up move, big drop. which is kind of one of the reasons why I'm kind of staying with the away from the yen pairs, because I'm not really liking the price action. It's not really very smooth. So if you're looking to buy dollar yen, I think 152 is still a fantastic place for a long. It's a big level in the market, and the chances are we're probably going to bounce there if the trend's going to continue. A break of that area would be quite significant. So if you do see another big move down, we start stalling at this area, I think that's just naturally going to be a great place to buy dollar yen. I wouldn't look to try and buy it in these kind of areas there unless you're looking for a quick day trade or a quick scalp. Then you can get away with it. But as we kind of slowly push on, the chance of this kind of move here does increase in happening. So you don't want to get caught in the way of that. Best way to avoid that happening is wait for it to happen, see if we can hold support at 152, and that could then be a really good buy back up again. So still bullish on dollar yen. The trend's still very much up in the major time frame, so I'm always going to favor more upside. 152 is still a great level for longs. Let's see if we can get a push into that level. Then yeah, expecting another move higher next week. Okay, so over to dollar CAD. So dollar CAD was still rebounding on that same level, 1.365 we'll call it, 365, 364. Still rebounding on that same area. Again, this is the level I spoke about 2 or 3 weeks ago, saying that this is a nice place to long. We can see that price is still placing a lot of wicks into that area there. So from a daily perspective as well, we're seeing a lot of rejection. I'm still pretty bullish on the dollar. So I'm still looking for upside. I'm still looking for bullish continuation for dollar CAD, and we're still holding this. Not the best uptrend in the world. It is quite corrective. We have seen a nice impulsive move there in recent weeks, but overall it has been quite sluggish uptrend. But as long as we can maintain this resistance now as support, I am looking for another push higher. And again, it does line up quite nicely with my dollar bias on USD on the DXY. So as long as we can hold this support level, let me just refine that to that high. As long as we can hold that support level, hold that trend line, I am looking for dollar CAD to push higher. So naturally, this is a nice place to look for longs early next week. And again, anticipating more upside. In terms of targets, you can be looking for the big swing back to the high. But of course, you can see price is steadily putting these lower highs in. So I'll be looking to take profit along the way, especially when we do come into a high, because again, we could still roll over. Nothing's guaranteed. Just because I have a bullish bias doesn't mean price has to do what I say. So always looking to protect against that, just in case the market does roll over. But if the trend does continue on the daily chart, I do expect us eventually to head back to 1.38298. So it's up to you guys how you want to manage that opportunity. But dollar CAD is still looking at longs. Let's see if we can continue to hold that. Could be some nice entries early next week, and looking for continuation next week to the upside. Okay, so over to Euro Pound. So Euro Pound this week, I was bearish, looking for price to hold this level of resistance and then see some downside. Big level in the market. You can see previously some nice, really strong rejections. We came back there again, was looking for me to the downside, but we didn't hold, we broke through. So now it does look like we could be seeing that level being used as support. Was resistance previously, but now potentially could be used as support, and that could potentially give us a move back to the high here. So I will be looking to change that bias to bullish as long as we stay above this level. Again, we're coming in pretty hard right now, so it'd be interesting to see how we get on early next week. Do we start placing some wicks, some nice rejection, shift momentum? That could then give a nice entry signal, and risk to reward looks pretty good as well if you can target the high up there. I must say though, conditions are not great. This is pretty much just a range. You could probably argue somewhat that we do have somewhat of a bearish trend here at play, so I can see that. But again, it's not the best trend in the world, and in the grand scheme of things, we have just been moving sideways since May last year, really. So for a year. So yeah, conditions are not great. These are not the conditions where I look to take trades, and I'm looking for trending conditions. So I'm staying away from Euro Pound for the time being. But if you are eager to trade it, this is a big level. Let's see if you can hold that support. And in turn, if we do hold, this could be a really nice place for entry and take advantage of a move back to that high there at 0.864 for next week. Okay, so over to Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar, again, not the biggest fan of the market conditions here for Aussie dollar. I'm looking at this. It's pretty much just a ranging market. Equal highs there, equal lows there, roughly. Looking at this as a big fake out to the downside. So last week I was saying that I would be interested in Aussie dollar if we do get a break of the high of the consolidation. And at that point, I'm looking for retest, for continuation, because If this is a big fake out, typically the market will fake out in one direction to go the other. That's the whole point of faking out, grabbing liquidity, so we can then use that as a catalyst for moving the opposite direction. So if we have done that and we do get a breakout, and I do expect some type of a trend to form, and the next big target for me for Aussie dollar would be the high up here, and the risk reward will be looking very, very nice on that position. So I do like the long opportunities for Aussie dollar, but we do need to break the high of the range. For now, we are not doing that, of course, and we are rejecting it. And if anything, there could be some nice shorts at the top of the range for a move back down. If dollar is going to be strong, which is my bias, then you would expect some downside for Aussie dollar. So in turn, we might hold that as resistance. And of course, that could be a nice place for some shorts if you're looking just to short the high of a range and take advantage of the conditions there. Again, not really my forte, but I know some people that will be liking to trade these conditions. So it's not a bad place for some shorts, stop loss above the high. And again, risk reward does look pretty good if you can short back down to the low. So yeah, this is kind of what I would be looking at from trading that range. But if we do get the breakout, then yeah, this is the opportunity I'm after, and looking for a big swing back to the high at 0.685. So Aussie dollar, again, I'm technically bearish because of my bias on dollar, but really from a technical standpoint, and something that fits my plan would be the break and retest on a breakout. So that's kind of what I'm looking for, but I could also see this scenario happening. It just depends what we do early next week with that level. Do we start rejecting it, or do we just have a big candle breaking through? We react, adapt to what price is giving us, and then we'll start planning some trades. But that is the analysis going into Aussie dollar. So keep a close eye on this level. Very, very important to see what we do. If you do short, looking for pushback down to the low of the range. If we do get a breakout, we're looking for some buys into 0.685 for next week. Okay, so NZD CAD up next. So short buys for this one still. Looking for some downside. Again, I'm still looking at these massive lower highs. One there, lower low, lower high, lower low. Again, looking for a lower high. Again, for another lower low. So that's the plan. That's the full process with NZD CAD. If I do expand it as well, you can see we have been bearish for some time. So again, nothing complicated. Just looking to flow with what the market is doing. We have been very consistent with these lower lows and lower highs. So I'll be anticipating that to continue until it doesn't. Recently, we have had a pretty big move to the upside, coming back into the high there. I am looking at this as a kind of like a big bear flag correction, if you will. So this would be our impulse, correction 1, correction 2, giving us the flag for a move to the downside. So yeah, this kind of is how the flag is looking. Maybe not the most orthodox one in the world, but it does fit the kind of idea of what a flag pattern represents. We are correcting to continue the move. I would highlight this area, which I did last week as well, as a nice place for a take profit even. We don't have to target all the way back down at the lows here. This is also a smart place because we had a sharp breakout here of a lot of momentum, strong level resistance. Now will be support. Potentially could see a move down just to push back up again. So essentially for NZD CAD, looking at shorts at this high, we saw a really nice rejection Thursday, Friday there. So again, if you can come back, hold that area, smart place for a entry. And again, targets back down to 0.81700 makes sense. And also the low there makes sense as well. If you're looking for a bigger risk reward, a bigger swing, of course, less probability price gets there. But if it does, you're looking at a really, really nice trade there. But this is analysis for NZD CAD, still looking to flow with the higher time frames. Bearish buys will come into a nice level. Keep an eye on that level there if you're looking to manage your trade or as a take profit. But overall, still looking at more downside into 0.80700 for next week. Okay, so pound NZD up next. So it does look like we are breaking through this low here, which I said coming into the week, if we can hold this support, I'll be looking for longs. Didn't really see any entry signal form. Market was very, very corrective, very sluggish. No real shift in momentum, and we kind of just slowly broke through that area. And it does also look like we're breaking through the daily trend line as well. So we are losing some bullish confluence here for pound NZD longs. I said if we can hold this, I'm looking at buys. If we break through, then I'm not necessarily looking at sells just yet, but I won't be looking at buys anymore. And on the flip side, sells on the retest of that make a lot more sense now. If you are looking for sells for pound NZD, if we can get somewhat of a more confident breakout, I'm not a big fan of corrective breakouts. I like it when we can get really impulsive breakouts. Those are the moves that I want to follow when it's corrective, Sometimes it does lead to a fake out. Of course, anything could be a fake out, but I find it's more likely to be a fake out if it's a corrective breakout. I'm rhyming a lot there. But yeah, for pound NZD, if we can push on a little bit further, this becomes a really nice place for a retest for some shorts. We broke through the trend line, broke through key support. Market has rejected the highs very aggressively as well. So that could mean for a reversal. In turn, this would be a nice level to short from. And targets, I'll just be looking at the lows here. This is a smart target, a lot of rejection there previously. Of course, you've got the low down there, although that would be a bit more of a optimistic target. But if we are going to reverse, you would expect eventually price to get there as well. But this is probably making a bit more sense just for next week. So yeah, pound NZD going forward, I'm liking the downside. Like I said, I still because we haven't taken up any major low in the daily chart, I'm still not going to be bearish on the market. Therefore, I'm not really looking to trade it. But if you are looking to trade this one, we have lost a lot of bullish confluence. So the only thing that makes sense to me would be looking to short around 2.085 on a retest of that level. So that will be my analysis going forward into next week. Okay, so over to CAD Yen. So CAD Yen still bullish bias on this one. Again, similar to dollar yen. In fact, similar to all the yen pairs. Again, daily, weekly, monthly, all the major time frames are pointing to the upside. So only looking for long opportunities in this situation. Again, the only place that I would look to go long from would be this level here at 111,500, which we discussed last week. Again, similar to the dollar yen as well, I'm kind of looking for a big sharp move down. We've had these two previous moves here. I'm kind of looking for a third one to see if we can push into that level, reject it, and in turn, if we do reject it, I think that will leave some really nice buys to try and look for that double bottom for then the next continuation higher. Because with CAD yen and the other yen pairs as well, we're kind of in no man's land right now, or at least from a buyer's perspective. If you're not already in the buy, you do want to see a big retracement. If anything, this is more of a seller's territory here. You can see this is where we consolidated briefly before sharp move down. Now we're back at that area again. I think there's a good chance we could see a move like this happen. So if anything, there could be some nice sells at this area. Only reason why I wouldn't sell is because the market is just so aggressively bullish. So I'm only going to look to buy in these conditions. And the only place I would buy would be this level down here at 111,500. So yeah, bullish for CAD yen. I do like the price action. It's starting to kind of tidy up a little bit. But again, nowhere near a place where I would look to go long, and you need to see a bit of a retracement, at least back to 111,500. We'll see what type of price action we can get. We can of course break through, so it's important to see what type of price action we get at that level, and then looking at longs. But still looking at more upside next week for CAD yen. Okay, so over to pound USD. So still retain that bearish bias. I'm looking at this range we've had previously. We've of course broken to the downside. I'm looking at this as a big fake out to the upside. Now we've seen the moves to the downside, so if that's the case, I'm looking for us to hold this level, the low of the range, as resistance, and then essentially reject it to continue down. So that's the analysis, that's the thought process I have for pound USD. We're firing some nice wicks to the upside, so we are still rejecting that low. However, equally, we are firing some wicks to the downside, and the market is rejecting the low as well. Some local support we're having a hard time breaking. So what I want to see from pound USD is actually a break of this area, and then the shorts will look far clearer, and of course be looking for a push back to the prior low, because right now we've kind of got a range over here, and I don't really want to anticipate anything because it's not looking too healthy in the lower time frames. If I just zoom in, you can see we're kind of just bouncing. I mean, we might be forming somewhat of a head and shoulder pattern here. It could be a bit of a reach, but left, head, and possible right shoulder for a move down. I mean, if that's the case, brilliant. I do want to see the break of the neckline or break of this support level, and below that, I do think some shorts will open up very tidily. It will look a lot clearer, and then we can take some shorts to the downside, because looking to short within here, I don't really have a good place for a stop loss unless it's above that high. And then again, that will skew the risk to reward, so I'm not a big fan of that. At least if you can break through the support and retest it, probably get a nice tighter stop loss, a good entry in the retest of the low, and again, still looking to target the low there as well. So that's kind of my thought process for pound USD. Still very bearish, still looking for another lower high. However, I do want to see a breakout of this support level, and then we can discuss some shorts on the retest of that region. So yeah, still very bearish on pound. Again, bullish on DXY. So all these pairs, dollar crosses, I'm kind of looking for that narrative to continue. Again, as long as the price action and technicals line up as well, which they are. So let's see if we can get a break of the support level, get some shorts in, and targeting that low for next week. Okay, so over to pound CAD. So pound CAD, I still do have a bullish bias for this one. Again, we do have somewhat of a slow uptrend here on the higher time frame, so I'm still looking for that to continue. We had a big sell-off a couple of weeks back, didn't really amount to much. We did take out some key lows, and if that's the case, I want price to start forming some lower highs and continue to the downside, but we didn't. We short back up. I know price is still respecting structure, but I'm looking at this as a big V-shaped pattern, which typically does mean a reversal. And again, if that is the case, then you'll be looking at upside. So it looks like the market is potentially fate to go lower, to now use that to continue the trend to go higher, and looking for us to push back to the highs. However, we still do need to break structure. We still need to break resistance before I'll be looking at any buying opportunities. This is the same level I'm looking for price to break. And then again, looking for a retest of that to continue high. So that is what we'll be looking at for pound CAD. I do like the opportunity. I like Euro CAD as well. It's a very, very similar opportunity, but essentially we're looking at that level to break. And of course, it doesn't have to break. We can still slowly roll over and continue down if that's the case. And obviously I'll be staying at the market, not looking to buy. And if we do that, then if we start taking out lows again, then I'll be back bearish on pound CAD, looking for some pullbacks. But for now, looking at buys. Let's see if we can break through resistance here, and then I'll be looking at a push back to the high and probably higher highs as well. So yeah, let's see if we can break the resistance and then look for a retest shortly after. Okay, so now onto pound yen. So again, just like CAD yen and dollar yen we discussed, the market here is still very bullish, still very successive with these higher lows. Haven't broken structure once yet, so I can only be expecting more upside. Again, we had a really nice retest of this prior high. Oh, we just missed it actually. This was the high I was discussing last week, but we just missed out. Anyway, we are still respecting these high lows. So essentially, analysis is just the same as CAD yen and dollar yen. Looking for a push down. Maybe this time we do come back and respect it. And then again, looking for buys. As long as we don't break structure, I'm expecting more upside for pound yen. If we do break structure, then of course I will look to change that bias and be looking for opportunities in the opposite direction if things do look good. But the same thing for CAD yen, same thing for dollar yen. It'll be moving to the upside very slowly. If you're not really going to buy, I wouldn't be looking to buy this unless you're looking for a quick scalp, maybe a quick day trade. You might be able to get away with it, but as we do approach some of these areas, I'm looking for this pattern to potentially happen again. Push up, big move to the downside, push up, big move to the downside, which then again could give us a nice opportunity to buy it back up again if we can respect structure. So looking for a pushback down into 191,500. Let's see if we can hold support. Again, continuation could take us back to highs really. So I do like the opportunity because the risk reward looks good. And yeah, still looking for that trend to continue. So let's see if we can get a pullback first. Only looking for buys as we remain bullish inside this structure. Looking for a buy around 191,500. And yeah, still expecting more upside next week. Okay, so over to gold. So I'm liking the price action for gold. This is exactly what I was talking about coming into the week and on my live streams as well. Looking for a really nice impulsive break to the upside, breaking through these highs and breaking through that structure there as well. And now I'll be looking for price to push back into 2,400. So essentially, all I want to see is a pullback to retest some highs, and then looking for continuations on that retest for move back to 2,400. We formed some equal lows here. Price struggled to break support, formed a higher low, now a big push higher. Now I'm just looking for a pullback of that same move for us to then buy for continuation back to the highs. Again, all the major time frames are still pointing up, daily, weekly, monthly. We've had this really, really big move to the upside. I'm looking at this just being a correction for another move back up. So very, very straightforward price action for gold. Let's just see if we can get that pullback and catch that third higher low, 1, 2, 3, and then looking for a push back to high. So let's see if we can get that pullback. Gold may just be very bullish and it may just rally to the upside. So unless you get maybe a break and retest on the low time frame, something like that, you might miss the move, but for myself, this is where I'll be looking to buy. It's either we do see the retracement or we don't. That will be up to gold, but yeah, I'm looking for a push back to 2400 and beyond next week. So let's see if we can get that pullback. Okay, so over to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin I'm still very bullish on in terms of the longer term move. I'm liking this impressive impulse move to the upside. This for me is still very, very corrective. We haven't really, it's not like we've sold off a cliff here. The market's still very sluggishly moving to the downside. So I still view this as a larger correction of this bullish move. And in turn, if it is a correction, you would expect a higher low to form at some point for push it back to the high. So that still remains my longer term bias. However, we had a nice impulsive move last Friday, but it didn't really amount to much. I said if we take out these highs, okay, things are getting interesting, but we didn't. We just kind of sluggishly rolled over, left some wicks to the upside. So I think this correction is still not over yet. Still got some more downside left in it. Again, as discussed last week, I'm looking at 52K and 48K as some nice places where that correction could be over, and we could be looking at high lows forming for push back to the high around 74K. So if you're looking to trade Bitcoin, I think for now the best opportunity is either just wait for the buys, or you're looking for shorter to medium term sell opportunities. Push back into the resistance here is not a bad place for a sell. Looking for that next lower high, because again, we've been pretty consistent with them. One over there, second over there, third over there. Looking at fourth for push back to lows, maybe 58 and 48K after that as well. So not a bad place for a short if you are looking to sell. But if you're more focused on the buys and bigger picture, then as I said, keep an eye on 52K. 52K and 48K as they remain really nice levels, which price hasn't yet retested yet as well, which is what I do like a lot about them. And Ethereum is looking very similar as well, so I do expect that to happen, and bigger moves to the upside for both of them. So yeah, Bitcoin still looking at more downside, still looking at bigger retracement. Keep an eye on 52, 48K for some buys. In the meantime, could be some nice shorts there, but longer term, I still do favor more upside. Okay, so over to our bonus pair, which for this week is NZD USD, another dollar pair, looking at some more downside, favoring dollar strength. We have pulled back into a really nice level of broken support, now turn resistance. So this level over here, which gave us a pretty strong move to the upside, we've broken through that since then. I'm looking for this to now hold as resistance for a lower high. So we've got one over there, second over here, of course giving us these lows. I'm looking at a pullback for a third lower high for again another push back to the low. I'm still looking at NZD USD coming back to this swing low on the daily / weekly chart. So I still do have further targets beyond that, and even possibly this low here as well. The COVID low potentially could be tested soon enough, but for now, just looking for a retest of that structure. You can see NZD USD has been pretty consistent with the lower highs on the daily chart here. We pull back to a nice level of support, looking for that to now be turn resistance, and again looking for a big sell from that level. So what I want to see next week is another push back into that level, another rejection like we did after NFP, and again looking to place entries around that area, stop loss above the zone, and again looking to target that low there. You can see price keeps bouncing there, so that will make up for a really nice healthy target. I do think we'll break through as well if the trend does continue. But for now, looking at shorts at the retest of that high at 0.60300 before move back down to the low at 0.588. And that, guys, does bring us to the end of the analysis. If you have found it useful, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and do hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. If there is any pairs you're looking at, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. Interested to find out what pairs you guys are looking at. But besides from that, guys, have a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch you all next week.